This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
He is a leading retinal surgeon, entrepreneur, and technological innovator, Dr. Sunil Gupta, on this edition of Conversations. Dr. Sunil Gupta first appeared on this program in August of 2011. At the time, he was working to help put returning war veterans back to work. Since that time, his entrepreneurial spirits have been in overdrive. Dr. Gupta is co-founder of USRETINA, one of the world's largest associations of retina practices. He is also co-founder and chief medical officer of IRIS, Intelligent Retinal Imaging Systems. Through advanced technology and cloud computing, the company is making preventive screening for diabetic retinopathy more accessible to patients. In addition, he continues his role as a world-class retina surgeon and leader of Retina Specialty Institute. We're proud to have Dr. Sunil Gupta back on this edition of Conversations. Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Great to see you. You've been a busy guy since 2011.
Been pretty busy.
IRIS, tell me about it.
Sure. So, there's always gaps in medicine, as there are in any other industry. And one of the gaps for us for many years has been, diabetics that come in and they're practically blind. So I showed up here in Pensacola about 21 years ago, started taking care of these patients, and we were just south of the diabetes belt, so we're pretty much in it. And literally every week we are getting patients back then which were coming in blind, either one eye, both eyes, especially as you start to get into my Atmore office in the southern Alabama areas. And so, we did what we could to help them, when all the time we knew that if we got these patients early, we've had this data for 30-some years, you grab these patients early, figure out if they have pathology, we can actually keep 90+% of them seeing, even back then. The problem was they weren't coming in early enough. So fast forward 20-some years, you'd think the problem would have been solved because everybody knows that they need to be examined every year. Unfortunately, no difference. On top of that, you pile on the fact that now you're seeing diabetes becoming an epidemic. So you had these patients, they were going blind. We've come a little ways in terms of making sure they get their eye exams annually, but still 50 to 60% of patients aren't getting their eyes checked. That's not because the optometrists or the ophthalmologists or the retina specialists aren't available. It's not even because the primary care docs aren't referring them. There's a disconnect. Somewhere the patients don't want to go, they're not symptomatic, they don't see their vision dropping, and so they don't think they have any problems. But even though we have all this knowledge, we still are getting patients coming in blind. The problem is, once you lose your retina, the retinal tissue is like your brain tissue, you lose it, you can't get it back. So once the rods and cones in the retina detach, scar up, they're gone forever. And so there are two options there. One is to keep doing what you're doing, for the last 30 years, or take a little different approach. We stand ready to help these patients, they're just not coming in. So we decided to create a little different model. It's not new, but other people had tried this. We took the model to primary care. And the idea there was, the patients typically are going to go see their primary care doctor, certainly once a year. Or they're going to go to the hospital or the clinic or the nurse or the diabetes educator. So if we can put a system in close to them, half the patients that aren't going to the eye docs, we can try to capture those patients and be able to treat them. And so that was the idea. We started working on it. The beautiful thing was, things happen at a certain time for a certain reason. I sort of looked at this problem 5 years ago. The technology wasn't there. The market, the insurance companies, the doctors, we just weren't as focused on it on the primary care side. So those two factors started to come around. And then the technology started to come around in terms of being able to use instruments in the primary care clinic that are easy for them to use, so that you don't need a retina specialist or like some of these veterans we've now trained to be ophthalmic technicians. I don't need to send them into the primary care clinic to do these pictures. So when all those technologies came around, it was a great time for us to bring it together. And so that's when IRIS was born. So the idea was there in the back of my head for 20 years that we needed to do this. I actually started thinking about it when I showed up in Pensacola and was seeing all these blind patients. It's not a problem to Pensacola only. Obviously, it's a worldwide problem, leading cause of blindness in the U.S. under the age of 70, 72. same thing across the world. Diabetes as the risk factor has gone, even as I started working on IRIS about 3-4 years ago, thinking about it, to now we went from 24.7 million diabetics in this country to 30 million diabetics in that time period. The number of sort of pre-diabetics, the patients that we think are going to convert to diabetes, is probably 2 to 3 times that number. And we've never been able to stop that trend line. So that continues. If we can somehow figure out how we can get healthier, take personal responsibility, I think we can reduce all that. But in the meantime, we've got IRIS. And what this system does is it uses software as a service. We put camera systems in primary care. We take the pictures with an automated camera system. We grab the image, we push it onto the cloud, do cloud computing on the Microsoft cloud. People see these ads of Microsoft clouds solving all these issues. Well, one of the things it's solving is blindness.
Wow.
And so we put it on the cloud. The images are then accessible to anybody that we give authority to be able to view the images. So you could have retina specialists sitting in Pensacola taking care of patients in Houston, which is what we're currently doing, and be able to then identify the 14 to 20% of patients that have pathology that then definitely need to go see docs that can be treating them for eye care.
I believe we have some video too, and I'll just
Sure.
tell the control room maybe we'll do it, but let you continue on. So you're able to do it remotely.
That is correct. So what you want to do is create the expertise of the retina specialist and what the primary care can do, which is grab that patient while they're there, and then combine those two assets to be able to deliver and fill in this gap. So we've got lots of gaps in healthcare. You know, we spend more money than anybody else in the world, but we don't take care of everybody very, very well.
You may tell us, or elaborate a little bit as you're seeing
Sure.
some of the video there.
So here you're seeing a camera system that's automated, and basically what this camera does is it, you enter the data, and we can do this through the electronic medical record, or you can manually enter the data. The camera is automated in that it will find the eyeball, focus on the retina, undilated, take the picture, and you're seeing that, and then export it to the cloud, and then our software systems do a bunch of things with it. We enhance the image, we present it in a way that doctors can look at it. We actually are starting to automate the diagnosing of it as well, so that in 2 minutes you can get a response to the patient and the person doing the pictures in the primary care setting. Does this patient need to be scheduled? What's the probability of that? Or are they normal and can be checked in a year again? And so by creating all these pathways, we've basically simplified getting to those 50% that show up to us blind.
Wow.
And so if you look at Harris Health, for example, they're an FQHC. What does that mean? These are patients that would not have access to health care. A lot of them don't have insurance. Now with Obamacare and other insurances, they're going to start coming into the system. But a lot of them, these systems don't pay very much, so a lot of people aren't interested in seeing them. The patients worry that their screens are going to cost them money. In Harris Health, they've put these systems in their primary care clinics. They had 47 to 48,000 diabetics. They had 8 clinics they had cameras put in. The patients get screened. We screen up to 20 to 30 patients per day per camera in their center. And they had about a 50-55% screening rate. We were able to take that up to an 85% screening rate.
Wow.
And we were able to identify in those, so we've screened about 30-some thousand patients for them. And of that, we've identified almost 5,000 patients that were going to go blind that didn't know they had sight-threatening disease, have been able to push that to the eye care centers, the retina centers for Baylor and University of Texas in Houston, and we can actually address their problem. So here's a low-income county system that's really not letting any of their patients fall through the cracks with a very cost-effective solution and keeping these patients seen.
So by detecting it early, you're able to prevent the 5,000 people from going blind.
That is correct. So the beauty of this is back in the 70s and 80s, we did some studies called the diabetic retinopathy study with some follow-up studies through the National Eye Institute. We knew that lasers worked to prevent them from going blind, but again, they weren't coming in early enough. So we had that tool to get us to 90% prevention of blindness. Since then, Genentech, Regeneron, and some of these other companies have come in, and we've done these clinical trials here in Pensacola. We're actually using anti-VEGF agents. It's a type of new drug, an antibody that prevents them from developing these new blood vessels and hemorrhaging. So now we can take the risk of blindness down to less than 1 or 2%. And the patients that do have detachments, we've gotten better at surgically fixing them. So really, if you apply all the tools we have currently to prevent blindness, we can literally keep most of them seeing if we catch them early enough.
For the layperson, describe exactly what diabetes does to the eye.
Sure. So diabetes is a systemic condition, as you know, and it's something where we're not processing glucose correctly because of our insulin's not reacting, our pancreas is not reacting normally. So what happens is as the sugars stay high, the tissues around your fine blood vessels, the really tiny blood vessels, they have some cells called pericytes, and there's some cells inside the blood vessels called endothelial cells. You start to push sugars up into those cells, and they start to form sugars into alcohols, and these alcohols are toxic to those cells that support the blood vessels. So when you start to lose the support around these blood vessels, what used to be a garden hose, they were pushing blood and nutrients through your retina and your kidney and brain, for example. They were supposed to be just pushing them through, dumping the nutrients, but not dumping blood, cholesterol, and proteins. They start to leak. So it goes from being a garden hose, I tell my patient, to being a soaker hose. And so you're now taking a transducer. It's basically an electronic sensor, which is what your retina is, right? It takes light, makes it into an electrical signal that goes to your brain. You're taking this electrical signal and you're putting water in it from your bloodstream. You're putting cholesterol and other things in it that make it not function well, and they make it scar up. So you start to do that, and it's not going to function well, and so you'll start to lose your vision. And if you permanently lose those rods and cones, then they're gone. You can't bring them back. You permanently scar the tissues, there's no coming back. So that's sort of the spectrum of what we call diabetic macular edema. Patients go blind in the center where they can't read, drive, function in society in a normal way. The second thing that happens is because there's lack of blood flow, when these blood vessels die off, the body thinks it's going to grow its own new blood vessels to help. Unfortunately, these blood vessels aren't normal, so they grow these blood vessels into the gel of the eye, and when they do that, it actually starts to form a contraction, and they start to hemorrhage. They start to hemorrhage, and the retina gets pulled up by the gel, and so you get what's called a tractional retinal detachment. It's a type of detached retina. And we can, again, go in and remove these scar tissues. We do that all the time at Andrews and reattach the retina. Problem is that you'll never get all the vision back when that happens. So the best thing is control your disease systemically. They call it your 3-month average hemoglobin A1C. We've proven that if you control that, your risk of developing these changes is low. The second is get your annual eye exam, either through an eye care provider or we need to set up these systems for people that don't have accessibility to eye care. And then third is if you find pathology, refer them in. The interesting thing is we're finding diabetic retinopathy, but we're also identifying patients with glaucoma that they didn't know had glaucoma. We found almost 7.5% of patients that were starting to have damage from glaucoma and didn't know it. We're identifying scar tissues on the retina. We're identifying cataracts and other things. So I think it's turning into, taking a group of patients that didn't have access to health care, identifying the subset that really needs help, spending dollars on them to be able to make sure they keep seeing. I think it potentially could have a huge impact on society.
What is technology doing for the medical field right now? How is it changing it?
I think it's like anything else. I think two things. I think the internet and where we're going in terms of development has become so easy. So the cloud infrastructure, for example, it used to be, and I grew up with my dad doing environmental sciences and software development and that. We used to have huge infrastructure needs, huge mainframe computers that were needed to run his software. Or you needed these servers that you had to house and do all these things. All those things were expensive and were a barrier to entry to developing technologies. Now you have an idea, you think you can fix a problem, you can now start to create these technologies that you can host on the cloud and start to fix problems. And so I think that there's sort of this meshing coming together of our ability to say, let's use technology to help sort of be disruptive about how to fix patients, and B, technology development is becoming much cheaper, and C, there's a lot more of the kids out there that can help sort of make that happen.
Some things that I have read recently, pointed to the fact that many researchers believe things that in the past may have taken 5 or 6 years to come to some sort of solution that will be sped up dramatically, exponentially because of computing power. I mean, is that accurate?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think that if you look at anything, the ability to process things has grown exponentially. And, Moore's Law, I mean, they talk about that. But in addition to that, you're starting to now develop sort of this connected world that companies talk about. Cisco talks about that, right? And what's the purpose of that? We want to drive all kinds of information to one pool of data, all right? If you have pooled data and you can do analytics on it, or if you can do data mining on it, we don't even know what we're looking for, but can we look at a set of data and see, is there a pattern? So is there a pattern in the type of thing a particular diabetic does, or a group of diabetics do, or the population does, that we can then say, hey, this may be something that we need to address. So we think that in healthcare, this technology aggregation, the aggregation of information, may help us do things that we haven't been able to do in the past. But completely agree, things are moving very, very fast. And as an entrepreneur and an owner of a company, you have to move fast as well, because I'm sure there's some kid right behind you, that's trying to catch up. And I love that. That's what this country's about.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned the Moore's Law, and that was an article I had read. It sort of said that the Moore's Law concept was moving into medicine.
Right.
And you agree with that.
Absolutely,
and that's exciting.
Yeah. So I mean, case in point there, not just the diabetics, right? So we had these subset of 10 or 15% diabetics. Even when they came in, even if they came in on time with lasers and stuff, we couldn't fix them. But then you had this whole set of age-related macular degeneration patients in their 60s and 70s and 80s that were going blind. So they would work hard all their life, they would get to retirement, and then they'd start to bleed in the center of the vision, lose sight in the center of both eyes, and all of a sudden no driving, completely lose their ability to be independent. And so sure enough, some of these technologies now, it was so depressing for me in my first 10 years of practice to be able to not do anything for those patients. In the last 6 to 10 years, we can literally keep those patients at 2020, 2030 if we catch them early. And the reason is we're developing all these new molecules that then address this issue. And so what they're using is, going back to the data piece, is they're using the genome, they're using the genetic makeup of disease, and so they're looking at, okay, this subset of patients has macular degeneration, let's identify the genes that are affiliated with it, and if we can get to a specific point that there's a mutation, let's create a drug that addresses it, for that particular patient, for that particular location. I think there's a lot more to come, not just for eyes, but for other things.
I was going to ask you, do you see this spreading across with cancer research and Alzheimer's, et cetera?
Absolutely, and it's already happening, so it's not anything new. There's going to be a new set of drugs for cardiology, for cholesterol, that are actually, very sort of sophisticated drugs that are antibodies that you're going to see start rolling out in the next year that are going to be game changers for cardiology. Same sort of thing that happened in eye care is starting to go in other places as well.
It's a really exciting.
Very exciting time.
Absolutely.
Don't know how we're going to pay for it, but it's a very exciting time.
Which brings me to the question, let's talk about the healthcare system. I mean, there's been obviously a lot of talk in recent years about the Affordable Health Care Act, the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare.
Sure.
Where are we? Is it good, bad?
So, it's the law of the land, so it is what it is, right? And so I'm not a person that sort of dwells on, what it is. I just say, give me the rules, and let's figure out how to, solve or fix what we need to do within the rules. And so those are the rules. But even having said that, I think the market, the train had actually left the station already, right? You can't have a country that's trying to survive and have healthcare be going from 17% of the GDP to slated to be 22 to 23% of the GDP. It doesn't work.
Right.
How are you going to ever produce any goods when that much cost is associated with healthcare? So I think the market was already saying, guys, you got to do things differently here. And we as physicians weren't really thinking that way, right? We were saying, whatever we need to do to keep this patient seeing, that's what we need to do. Now we're rethinking that, and we're rethinking that because there's limited resources. And it's not just in eye care, it's in cancer therapy and other things. But the concept is, you've got money and you got to pool that money and spend it on getting the most bang for the buck, right? So currently we say we spend about $3 trillion on healthcare. What I hear, and there's some data out there that shows that about a third of that actually goes into patient care. All right, so there's a lot of layers of wasted money and that can be made more efficient. So again, technology, comes into that, right? So in the consumer market, you've got, people like Amazon that are really driving things down, people like Costco that are driving things down. In medicine, we haven't done that, right? So in some ways, there's been a lot of money, so nobody's really driven the cost structure down. But there's also been a lot of middlemen and women, in the middle that are taking a lot of these dollars out. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, the money, the $3 trillion supports a lot of jobs, creates a big economy, even in Pensacola, Florida. It's a big part of the economy. But I think at the end of the day, you need three things. You need the patient, obviously. You need a provider, and that could be a doctor, a hospital, the company that's manufacturing the drug, and then you need somebody to pay for it. Those are really the three things you need. And I think that in an inefficient market situation, right, there's a lot of middle people that are grabbing at those dollars. With technology, you can actually make that very efficient. So we're doing that, right? We're streamlining diabetic retinopathy. You can take it directly from primary care or even from an employer, figure out the patient, push it directly to retina, push it to an optometrist, push it to the ophthalmologist, collapse that continuum down so you can save a lot of money, in the middle. So if you can use technologies to go sort of a direct business-to-business model like you're doing in the consumer side, I think there's a lot of dollars that could be saved. If you can start to shift risk where we as physicians and patients start to say, listen, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, and I think I can deliver first and foremost quality, right? So we're basically building widgets, and our widget is I want to keep the patient seeing better than anybody else or as good as anybody else. I want patient satisfaction, and then I want to do it at a cost-effective rate, and I don't want to leave anybody behind. So that's not something I'm saying. That's Medicare's mandate now, right? You have to have accessibility, cost-effectiveness, but at all costs, quality comes first. And so you hit those three targets, and then we've got a business model. And so you know what the target is. Let's create the business models, to address that. And I think technology will let us do that. And at the end of the day, I'm not worried about the patient, and I'm not worried about the doctor, because there's enough money in the system, and we just need to take those resources and apply them in a way that allows us to keep doing what we're doing.
Do you think it's going to also be more of a focus on patient responsibility as we move forward?
So I think that there's a few different models that people have thought of, but yes, I mean, I think the patient, sort of personal responsibility is something that often gets checked out. We can't be a nation of pill poppers, right? I mean, why isn't it that everybody isn't out walking? And not to tout on myself, but, I try to work out 6 days a week. And, I have a very busy schedule. It's not fun to work out. It's not something I love. I don't want to go lift weights once a week, but I do it, right? And I do it because I see the benefit. I see the benefit in my patients that are 70, 80, even 90 that have been active and have been eating right, working out, being engaged with their mind and body their entire life. It's a completely different ballgame. I mean, you can literally save 50 to 75% of costs associated with that patient versus the patient that doesn't work out, is got a high BMI, is obese. Those are real costs. And so, at some point we're going to have to straighten that up. Not everybody has the ability to, sort of be, hey, I'm going to do this mentality. But at some point, personal responsibility clearly has to come in. And whether we do that with dollars or we do it just in some way to motivate people, we probably will need all kinds of things. That stuff is above my pay grade. I don't know how to do that. So, but we know how to address when the patient shows up in our pocket, on our side of the table.
I have about 3 minutes left. If you look into your quote-unquote crystal ball, 10 years out, what does medicine look like?
So I think medicine's different, and it can go a couple of different ways. One is that all the doctors could be owned by hospital systems, or it could be a single payer system, where the government, all the docs are working for the government. I don't think so. Because I think as Americans, we're pretty innovative. And I think we're going to come up with a much better model than that. I think we're going to say, listen, let's pool together the patient and give us the ability to take care of them. And let's create partnerships. So let me create a partnership with the pharmaceutical group. Let me create a partnership with the insurance group and with the doctor and hospital, and give us the money. And let us figure out how to take care of this patient. Hold us accountable. You know, tell us that you want the patients to see better, to be able to have good quality interactions with the doctors and the hospitals. Patient satisfaction needs to be high. Give us the metrics that you want us to follow, but give us the money, let us handle it, and we'll show you the end game.
For you personally, in about 2 minutes, what's next?
Whew. Well, I think there's a lot on the table, and I'm very active, you know, seeing patients still. But I really am excited about taking what I do from helping one patient at a time to trying to see if I can scale that model and be able to help much larger scale of patients across the country, across the world. So if I can have that impact, that would be pretty exciting for me.
And as I mentioned at the top of the show, when we talked last time, you were helping veterans return to work. And how did that project turn out?
Well, it's still turning out. So we have a number of veterans that we brought in, trained them as ophthalmic technicians. We continue to look for new veterans that are coming in. It's been phenomenal how well they're process-oriented. They're a perfect fit for the next phase of healthcare. And if there are any more out there, you know, I would love to interview them, get them in our system.
Okay. And so you've got several websites. People want to track down what you're doing. So which one's the best to go to?
So there's the IRIS website is retinalscreenings.com with an retinal with an L. Okay. And then that goes to the diabetic site, and then usretina.com goes to what we're doing in terms of collaborative with the retina groups.
Okay. Lots of exciting stuff.
Thank you very much.
Very optimistic from a technological standpoint. I think it's an exciting time to be alive from that perspective for sure.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Doctor,
Jeff.
best of luck to you.
Time.
Thanks
Yes,
for coming back again.
Thank you.
Dr. Sunil Gupta, entrepreneur and of course world-class retina surgeon. By the way, you can see our original interview with Dr. Gupta along with many more of our conversations on YouTube. And of course, we're also online at wsre.org/conversations and on Facebook. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the broadcast. Take great care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.
Support for this program is provided in part by these corporate sponsors. And by viewers like you.